Welcome back. We Jazz Kings tonight just got finished. Last game of preseason. What are some things that kind of obviously we didn't get to see any of our big name players beyond Kessler tonight, but we did get to see a lot of the young guys.
Yeah, obviously we knew it was going to be a very doled down game, but there are some little gems in there we do get to watch, like the youngsters. I was surprised we didn't see Sensabaugh
Yeah, that was
anywhere through
weird.
that. They had him even sitting on the floor. I don't think they even gave him a chair on the bench when I looked. But that would have been fun to see him a little bit more because he looked so smooth the last time he came in. But yeah, good to see the youngsters and Colin Sexton kind of finally seeming to find his stride
Yeah, he's
for the
he's
first time all
really
preseason.
struggled preseason, and
Mhm.
it was really good to see him not. It almost seemed like throughout the rest of the preseason he was pressing too much, and
I
this one
agree.
he a lot more just looked more like himself last year.
So Sexton ended up 11 to 16, 2 or 3 from the line. So he had 24 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and they didn't play him down the stretch. It's almost like, okay, we've seen enough. You're back.
Yeah, you're good to
Let's
go.
let's go into this 7 day stretch before the first game of the regular season, and they let kind of Taylor Horton Tucker come in and finish the game, take a lot of the shots. They gave Taylor Horton Tucker almost 31 minutes tonight. So, um, but Colin was obviously much more efficient, played really well.
Yeah, was excited to see that from Colin Sexton. Um, Keontae really struggled tonight. This
Keontae's
was probably
shot.
his worst game that he's put together for us, and we're gonna see that,
Yep.
and
Yep.
that's fine. That's how you grow. I liked a lot seeing Chris Dunn. Chris Dunn consistently trying to get Keontae the ball and get him into position and stuff like that. So you can tell Chris Dunn's clearly making an effort to help him grow.
Once again, Chris Dunn, it's like he knows his role. He's going to get Keontae the ball. He's going to shoot efficiently. He's going to be a beast on defense.
Yes,
He's going to snarl. He's going to punk a couple of guys and just take him down low and put in an easy floater over him. I love his game.
and
It's enjoyable to watch.
that's why I really hope, depending on what happens with trades and things like that, we get to see a little bit of consistent minutes with Agbaji, Chris Dunn, and then Mark and Kessler Collins, because that having those two guards just dominating defensively with our length behind them, and then guys who are going to consistently look to get Markkinen and Collins and Kessler the ball, I feel like that lineup would just kill people.
It's you could make the argument why that makes sense to close with that lineup for sure. Um, but I love Chris Dunn paired with Keontae George through the preseason.
Yeah.
It's been a really nice 1-2 punch, and I'll say even with Keontae George, even though the shot wasn't falling tonight, his actions were creating space. He
Yes.
was getting open jumpers, at least what's open for him and in a comfortable space, right? Because he's such a smooth shooter. Um, so even though the shot wasn't falling, I really thought a lot of good signs out of Keontae George tonight, anyways. Um, Taylor Hendricks came in and missed quite a few shots at first, but seemed like he settled down a little bit. And like we talked about before, I'm excited to see what he looks like in December.
Right. Right. You can see it's almost like he just needs to see a shot go in, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I remember how to play basketball. And so, yeah, as the confidence grows with him, he's a guy that early on probably don't see a lot of.
Mhm.
Spends a lot of time in the G League, similar to Baji's route last year. And then as we start getting towards trades and things like that, hopefully he's starting to kind of fit into his own role.
And as he grows and develops, I mean, it's you never know what the exact window is going to be for his opportunity to pop up. It might be an injury
Yeah.
of one of our bigs. It might be a trade. It might be that he all of a sudden something clicks and he kind of gets a couple of chances out there. And but excited to see what that path is, and if it happens by December or later on or next year. It's
Right.
that's each player and each personality is so different. You see this in every sport that you can't just put a cookie cutter timeline um, on each player. You have to look at signs. You have to understand personality, and some take a slower route and a more scenic route, and others flash bang right from the start.
Right. And he's very much that young, wide eyed, kind of shy kid still. And so it's not surprising to see him taking a little bit longer than somebody maybe like Keontae, who's obviously a very outspoken, confident person.
Keontae's personality and his approach is the outlier. That's not normal. That's not a normal thing.
No.
That's special. And we could see that he had that moxie for years now. I guess it was 2 years ago that I first started watching him, and you could see that, but it's not normal. That's so to compare Taylor Hendricks to Keontae is not a apples to
Right,
apples thing.
for sure.
It's out of bounds.
For sure. It was interesting that we played Kessler so much tonight. We played him a good amount of minutes down the stretch. I didn't expect to see that. I don't know how much of that comes to the fact that we just didn't have any depth at big man, or because Will Hardy wants to see more out of him. He hasn't been the best this offseason or this preseason either, but obviously had a very more impactful game tonight.
Right,
But
ended up with
15 boards,
14 points,
like
15 rebounds. Still not. I mean, I hate to poo-hoo on that, but still not quite back to the level that he was last year or what we kind of expected over the summer. I don't. It'll be interesting to see after this first handful of regular season games. Do we start to approach of what was the real impact of his summer playing with Team USA?
Yeah,
when do we start to have that conversation?
That's my big concern. Is I don't think the role that he was presented with originally in that situation was what he expected when he actually got there. I feel like there was more of an expectation on actual playing time with them, things like that. I don't know. I'd be curious to see what happens there, what may come out of there, especially if he really starts to ramp it up in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. He just kind of hasn't quite come in with as much. I don't know the right phrase to say. It just kind of hasn't quite started off as strong as I expected him to. And I wasn't expecting some huge offensive explosion, but I was expecting some more strength and confidence.
Yeah.
And it may be a preseason thing. I may be way off. That'll be something to see the first 4 or 5 games, and we may come back and talk about this.
For sure. And that's a big thing, is the first couple weeks, I think, is going to be really telling for us on certain rotations, on how certain players come out. I think the first few weeks we'll really start to see more of what to expect this season out of us. I'm really intrigued as he's gotten more and more minutes of Yurtseven. He's been we mentioned a couple times watching the game, like the way he sets screens, like really strong screen setter. He battles down low for boards.
He does.
He
stronger rebounder than I expected.
Yeah, he seems to do a lot of kind of the dirtier things that you need a big man to be able to do that aren't necessarily, on a box score, but are important, especially from a backup center type role.
I like the skills that he brings. He seems to be a decent ball handler / playmaker. He's comfortable with the ball in his hands.
For sure.
I wouldn't say that he's a Sabonis type, but he's comfortable out there. And if something were to happen to one of our bigs, I wouldn't feel, it's somebody who can step in and do well. I wouldn't feel totally distressed about it. But
right.
It'd be interesting to see our usage of John Collins as we get into the regular season. How much are we really going to use him? One of our commenters in a past video mentioned that they watch Keontae a lot and they think that he's a lot better off of the screen game, off the pick and roll, than he is isolation, and that's true.
I would agree.
That's true. He does create good shots, but in one thing that we talked about during the game was our best pick and roll pair is Keontae to John Collins.
Yeah. They've seemed to click immediately. They have already seemed to found that connection where Keontae just knows where to expect Collins to be, and Collins is looking for it.
He sees the read correctly and early. And if you give him that chance to dribble around that screen and dribble into his shot, man, that's a high percentage shot.
100%. Yeah,
he hits that a high percentage.
The way those guys have looked together, I hope we get to see a good amount of their minutes shared together on the court.
Yeah. So we finally, 7-day stretch. Apparently there's a scrimmage this Saturday down at the Delta Center that's free to the public to go to. And then we get to actually see the full rotation and what we're going to actually throw at the Sacramento Kings. We had a lot of close point battles with them last year.
Yeah.
That were exciting. And and they're projected to be another highly ranked team in the West this year. So we'll see how it comes out. Game 1.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see how that goes. There's some things that I'm hoping for rotation wise, and we'll see what happens. And we we may really not know until some sort of trades happen or anything like that, until what that's going to look like. But I'm excited to get into some actual meaningful basketball. That's feels like it's been forever. Feels like it's taken forever to get here, but I'm excited to get to the regular season. Not just for the Jazz, but just to start watching some real competitive, meaningful games.
So next Wednesday night,
Yes, we will see
Game
you guys
1.
after that, and hopefully have good things to talk about. Thanks, guys.